Mr President, Australian politics has recently been rocked by two large and very different public protests: a march across the Sydney Harbour Bridge opposing the war in Gaza and the nationwide protests against excessive immigration. For most, the Gaza march coded as left-wing, while the march against excessive immigration coded as right-wing. Both rallies attracted tens of thousands, but surely only a handful attended both. Perhaps there's a Venn diagram with one person in it, me. I copped flack for those decisions. My critics are wrong. I'd like to explain why. First, there is nothing inconsistent about being against war and against excessive immigration. The pro-war right across the West cheers on every one of the forever wars. They never have time to admit error because by the time it gets to that, they're already cheering on the next stupid war. And then they bemoan excessive immigration. Can't they see war creates refugees, poverty and failed states, and that turbocharges the desire to get out and come to the West? If the right wants to end excessive immigration levels, they should stop cheering on every war the propaganda machine tells them to cheer on. Second, it is absurd and dishonest to paint a protest in the light of the most radical attendees. Some on the right condemn the anti-war protest because it attracted communists and Islamists, while some on the left condemn the anti-mass immigration protest because 0.01 were Nazis. This criticism is blindingly hypocritical. The mindless game of guilt by association is always morally wrong and intellectually sterile. I typically have a high regard for the sincerity of my colleagues Anthony D'Adam, Mark Buttigieg and Sue Higginson, but all have used this parliament this week to smear those who marched against excessive immigration because of a dozen attendees. It's as though they are the PR agencies for the Nazis by desperately wanting to inflate a bogeyman. Using their precise logic, those who marched against the Gaza war are supporters of the Ayatollah, Hezbollah, ISIS and Hamas. They're resorting to smears because they're trying to demonise and not debate those who want a sober discussion around optimal immigration levels, which in my view is well over half of the country. Instead of theatrical condemnations of Hamas or Hitler, we should treat the manufactured outrage with the deserved respect, which is to ignore or mock it. I proudly identify with the anti-war right in Australia. War is hell, and the Gaza war is no different. The Australian government should not be involved in foreign conflicts, but as an individual, I believe the Gaza war needs to end, and so does Israeli public opinion overwhelmingly. At the same time, our recent experiment with excessive immigration levels is hurting Australians. I support a 5-year immigration pause. This will give us the time to have a serious discussion about the links between migration, infrastructure, housing, and, yes, culture. War and excessive immigration are two ways to destroy a society. I oppose both, and that is why I marched at both, Mr President.